Number 17 is all about scripting your presentation. If it fits your product or service and/or sales process, you might want to let the prospect or client know, and possibly even more important, remind yourself that you're going to ask for a decision and that you expect a decision at the end of your presentation. It's called establishing criteria for a sale. You might say, part of my responsibility is to make sure I answer all of your questions so you can make an informed decision. At the end of our call, if everything makes sense, I'll expect you to get started. And if it doesn't, you certainly have my permission to say no. Is that fair enough? Or, during this call, I'm going to share all of the facts and figures you need to make an informed decision. And at the end, I expect you to tell me how I did by either taking advantage of our offer or passing on it. Does that make sense? If it fits your product or service and/or the sales process, you might want to get them physically involved by having them take notes. Tell them to get something to write with, since you'll be sharing a few items that they need to jot down. Then each time you cover a key point or benefit during the presentation, have them jot it down. It's amazing the power you create by having them see those benefits in their own handwriting. Next, always tie in every feature with the benefit to them. Examples could be state the feature and then add which means to you and then stress the benefit. Or state the feature which can provide you with and then stress the benefit. Or state the feature and add which could reward you with and then stress the benefit. Here's an advanced technique which can pay enormous returns. Always rate their interest after each feature and benefit. You would stress a feature and benefit and then ask, is that important to you? Or, would that save you money? Or, can you see the value of that? Now pay close attention on which benefits score the highest and best responses. Then when it comes time to start handling objections and closing, you'll know which benefits to go back to that you can expand on and build more value. We mentioned earlier that selling is pure emotion and not common sense, logic, and rationale. Based on that, I hope you can agree that the worst word in the world you could use is think. If you want to start selling with more emotion, please start using the 5 senses whenever possible. Let's replace words like, I think you'll really like this, with something like, I know you'll thank me later. Or I feel confident you're going to love the secondary income stream. By the way, did you just hear one of the 5 senses? Feel? Instead of asking, how do you like it so far? Try, how does this look so far? Or, those testimonials sure sounded impressive, didn't they? There were 2 more of the 5 senses. The other 2, taste and smell, take a little creativity. However, they can also be used, such as, this sure has the sweet smell of success, doesn't it? Or, this is a program that you can really get your teeth into, isn't it? Another great tool in your box when you're building a presentation is to use third-party stories to make a point whenever possible. Remember that if we say it, they can doubt it. However, if someone else said it, it must be the truth. Examples could be, Bob Jones over at ABC Company discovered that this system actually saves him 22% of his production cost. Or, Dr. Smith was initially reluctant just as you are. However, he now states that this new equipment has increased his bottom line profit by over 40%. During your presentation, don't be afraid to use takeaways if they fit. An advanced technique is to always add a benefit or positive statement after the takeaway. This works great with a very defensive prospect and helps put them more at ease. You might say, of course, this isn't for everyone. However, if it saves you 20%, you probably need it, right? Or, this might not be the only solution, On the other hand, it sure has worked for everyone else who has implemented it. If it fits your product or service and or sales process, you might want to consider using regression. This is one of the most incredible techniques you can ever hope to master because you take a prospect or client back in time and put them in a subconscious state. You might ask if they remember when they first learned how to swim, or they first learned how to ride a bike, or when they took their first driving lesson. This usually gets them to admit that they were reluctant or fearful of trying something new, even though their friends or family were already doing it and they wanted to join in the fun or experience. Then you can tie that into the fact that they are now experiencing that same fear of the unknown with the decision they're about to make with you on your product or service. As an example, if you have a prospect who was concerned over investing because of the fear of the unknown, you could ask him to remember when he first learned how to swim. After discussing how he learned to swim, you might say, the other reason I ask is that a client of mine the other day told me that when he first got involved with this opportunity, it reminded him of when he first learned to swim. When I asked him what in the world he meant by that, he said, well, if you wanted to learn to swim, you could go down to the swim club every afternoon, 2 hours a day for a month, and listen to the greatest swimming coach in the world tell you everything you ever wanted to know about swimming. But the bottom line was that you still don't realize how enjoyable it could be until he finally got in the water. I believe he made a very good point, and that's quite frankly impossible to argue with. Based on that, let's walk over to the swimming pool together, sit on the edge, and at least tangle our toes in the water and get started. Fair enough? Now, by the way, I also want to mention I used a technique there called pausing and stumbling, because once you get your material down that well, you want to purposely pause and stumble a little bit just to make it sound more real. Scripting for presentations is continued in the next session. As always, please complete the assignments in your workbook. This is Stan Ballou wishing you a fantastic future.